Happy Saturday, everybody. I'm feeling rather luxurious, if a little tired. I've done all my laundry, 3 loads. I've blitzed them. I had a very big late breakfast, I guess you could call it brunch. Cheese toast, bacon, sausage, and home fries. Dishes are done. I've chopped up the veg for what I'm going to make for tea this evening. I'm making grilled pork belly stirred fry. So all the veg for that is chopped up and ready, and that's it. I've just been sitting here, basking in getting everything done. Not much is happening. It is a overcast day. It's not as dark as it was, but it's dull. It's still dry. It's not raining, and I've decided the minute it starts to rain, if it rains heavily anyway, I'm going to go put my jammies back on and just lay on the sofa all day. When I first moved to the UK, my hair was long and in braids, and people would always stop me on the street and stuff and admire my hair. Sometimes they would ask if they could touch it, and sometimes they wouldn't. They would just reach out and, stroke it or, tug it gently at the ends, which, if you're black, that's a no-no. You never ever touch black woman's hair. You just don't. And I thought I had put all that behind me when I stopped getting it braided and stuff, but these days, people stop me to tell me, it's weird, your hair is gorgeous. It looks so soft. Can I touch it? And so, of course, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but thank you for the compliment. I just don't even bother to go into the cultural aspects of it. It's just like, it makes me nervous, uncomfortable when people touch my hair. So yesterday, I'm coming back from Little's, and I pass an elderly gentleman at the bus stop, and as I'm approaching him, actually, he says, "Hello, love, your hair is stunning." But he didn't follow it up with, "Can I touch it?" for which I was grateful. So I was like, thanks, Yours is too, because as I said, he was elderly, and his hair was even whiter than mine is, and you can see I still have a bit that's not yet gone white, and he also had a lovely white beard. So he then asked me for a cigarette. Not a cigarette, he asked if I had a lighter, and he pulls out a cigarette, and I gave him my lighter, and he's lighting up and he's laughing. He was a really nice guy. He's laughing. He's like, "I really need to quit this." And I'm like, I do too. I've had 2 heart attacks since 2008, so I definitely need to quit. And he was like, "Oh, well, no judgment, and, at the end of the day, we all die from something anyway." And I'm like, this is true. And so I can blame the cigarette I'm about to have now, taking out a cigarette of my own and lighting it, on you. So when I finished saying that, he's like, "Do you mind if I ask, are you American?" Okay, this is a tricky question. It was a tricky question in 2016 through 2020 for obvious reasons. And now it's a loaded, tricky question again. So I asked him, "What are you going to do if I say yes?" He was like, "Nothing. I just want to know, if you are, what are your people doing?" It amuses me how after all this time in this country, everybody refers to other Americans as my people, which is also a no-no. So I told him, yes, I'm American, but I live here. And I have lived here, for over 20 years. And he's like, "Why on earth would you want to do that?" So there followed a lengthy and spirited discussion of the merits of the UK versus the US, and eventually did, as so many of my conversations with strangers do these days, into the current Washington administration. It's kind of, I won't say off-putting. Actually, I want to say it's kind of heartening that in all these conversations with strangers, or even people who know me, with regards to what's going on currently, everybody is against it. Everybody thinks it's terrible. So that gives me hope, for the future. You know what else gives me hope is that the majority of my friends have my values and the same concerns I have, And I'd like to think that most people do too, They want secure shelter, secure housing. They want to be able to not worry about going bankrupt if they have an unexpected medical bill. I am so grateful for the NHS. I've had 3 surgeries in this country, and none of them were electives. They were all necessary, and they were all free. I did not get billed £200 for, paracetamol or anything. It's just astonishing. They want good education for their kids, They want to be able to retire comfortably, and they want to live in relative safety. The UK is not nirvana. We have our own problems. But for me, it's been a good life. It really has. I love it here. So I talked to this gentleman long enough to have a second cigarette because the bus was somehow late. I wish I had thought to get his name, or his details. He's the kind of guy I'd like to have a cuppy with, but in the end, we parted, He patted me on the shoulder, and I gave him a wee hug, and I went, I walked on down Victoria Road towards my house. And that's it. I'm going to try and finish. I'm watching Mouse. Yes, it's called Mouse, the show. It's on Prime Video. I'm going to try and finish that today. But if not, then I'm going to work on my bucket list. And I don't mean the travel bucket list or even, the big bucket list that most people have, things to do before they die. This is my film bucket list. More specifically, films I saw years ago when I was young that I would like to rewatch now because I'm older, so I'm sure my perspective and take on it will be different. And that's it. Whatever you guys do, enjoy it. I hope you all have a pleasant and safe and happy Easter weekend and blessed Easter weekend. Thanks as always for tuning in. If you haven't already, please click like and subscribe. And before I sign off, to my friend in Northern Ireland, who I'm not going to name, but if she's watching this, then if you're watching this, I'm thinking of you and the girls. And that's it, everybody. Take care. Be safe. Bye.